shit the last couple of days. Like,
let's just call it.
You doing a rebrand or are you doing the continuation?
This is either
rebrand.
This is either 2.4 or 2.5.
Let's
do that. This is episode 25 of the Working Podcast. I'm your host, Yasser, because words are hard. And joined by me is my boy Ronald over here. Say what's up to the people.
How you doing?
We got Jose over there on the mic. And my boy Ariel, a.k.a.
Ariel, freaking Ariel.
A.k.a. Ariel. Say it right.
Welcome to the Working Podcast.
Yeah.
You gotta do the. You gotta draw the NPC and then put the neon signs in the back.
Yeah, word. I could use a neon sign. So this is episode 25. Our guest couldn't make it today, but
we had a special guest coming through.
Yeah, we're rolling with it. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you could join us on the next one. So yeah, it's just the guys today. So
what up, homies?
Casual. So first of all, you guys are all joining us on a nice Saturday. The Saturday right before Memorial Day.
Yeah, so Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
You guys have anything excited planned?
Nope. I'm excited right now because we're here. I kind of have a full stock day. We got to record this podcast, and then I got to go to my cousin's kid is having his first birthday today. So I got to go to a kid's party later. And then after that, my coworker is forcing me to turn up for my birthday.
And what is that?
Tuesday, right after Memorial Day. Yeah.
So by the time you watch this, it'll be like a month after Jose's birthday. So happy birthday, Jose!
Yeah.
What about you, Ronald?
Crazy plan?
Nope.
No,
we're in the same
I'm not really a big like
planner
or holiday spender unless like there's something with family.
Facts.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the best way to be. Best way to be.
I have nothing at all planned, but I'm sure someone will hit me up and something will happen or not. Mm-hmm. And I'm just here editing all day.
Do you guys feel more comfortable when you have plans that are more like further into your calendar versus like plans that pop up in the more like immediate future? So let's say like Yasser hit me up. He's like, yo, you want to come through and record tonight? I'll just be like, yeah. Because that's like, I'm down. I love that kind of stuff. But when somebody's like, hey, I'm going to throw a party a month from now. Can you make it? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to be. Like, I'm making moves. I'm trying to succeed in life. I don't know what the week is looking like next. I don't even know what next week looks like.
Like, I might be in a meeting.
I'm doing business.
I'm having a very important call. Long ass business call. How long is your party? I bet.
I'm just imagining that situation where you have to say that, like someone just asks you, yo, I have a birthday. I'm trying to plan it. Tuesday, 11 o'clock to 2 p.m. You're looking at I'm working.
Conference call with Beijing or something like that.
Like, what do you do on Monday through Friday? I got something planned for every day.
That's a lot.
Do you guys, I don't remember what show it was from. It's from a cartoon, maybe. Some guy walked into like a place and he was like, all right, guys, everybody, next Tuesday, there's a party in my place. Everybody could come through. And then like somebody walks in off camera and they're like, hey, Tuesday, you're going to have a thing? Can I come over? And the guy looks at him. He's like, sorry, I'm going to be busy that day.
Oh, I feel so bad.
My soul.
I gotta go do anything else.
So bad.
Was there someone like that in high school? There was. It was that kid that we called him cutting when we went on vacation on a field trip. You remember that? He was part of your magnet. You know him.
I wish I could go on vacation during school.
I think I know. I can't attach a name to a face right now, but I think I remember this event.
Yeah. It was hilarious. Like we were coming back from a field trip and he was like cutting and we were just like,
seen him outside the
bus. And your magnet teacher, she was just like,
Miss P was like, I seen you. Wow.
That's like the worst day that could happen.
What a loser.
Oh man.
What about you? You got anything planned?
No, I don't. Like I didn't even realize it was going to be Memorial Day weekend until like this week.
Oh wait, real quick rewind. Ariel just had a birthday.
Oh, he did?
Hey.
Oh shit. Hey,
talking about?
Ariel,
It
how
happened,
was
it happened
your-
before. I don't know when, but it happened before.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
before, so I
I'm a
don't-
Taurian, so May. Yeah,
Did you say a Taurian? What the fuck
Taurian, Taurus, horoscope.
I am a transformer.
I thought you meant
Starscream.
I thought you meant you're a Tyrion from the Mass Effect universe, and you were like,
That too.
Oh,
I was like, that's hard.
yeah. Play that shit off. Play that shit off.
Yeah, he's my favorite person in that
The
whole
horoscope
series.
is whack.
I tried to get into that, like the deep horoscope. Like I'm a Taurus / Gemini
Oh, yeah,
underneath
no,
the
I'm not
moon from
too
the
much
far
about
star
that,
of Saturn or something.
Yikes!
Yeah,
I wanna
Mercury
understand
is on
that.
the rise today, and I'm just like,
Yeah, whenever I'm on the train and I hear anybody mention a planet, I'm like, I need to watch out. Because anybody could be crazy. Everyone you could flip right now because of Saturn's retrograde. Watch it. They're like the creep.
oh man.
You ever just look at the horoscopes on like the train station? Like
Yes.
I love to.
Yes,
I love
yes.
to, yeah.
you ever just like
And
block the left side of the whichever one is?
see
And
that
see if
they-
you can relate to any of them.
And see
Yeah,
that they
you just-
all work.
Yeah, it applies to everyone. It's just like,
I'm like,
It's like which
who's
one's that
writing
one?
these?
It's like,
Yeah.
well, that's
Yeah,
not my
yeah.
birth mother.
One time I swore I saw my horoscope. And it was like, Gemini, blah, 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 your day well, communication, love, whatever. And I told Sharon, I was like, oh man, my horoscope said this. So like, maybe it's going to be a dope day. And she was like, wait, that was my horoscope. The wrong one. This said this. I was like, oh. I
aren't you a
guess I feel
Taurus
just
too?
as good.
Aren't you a Taurus too?
I'm a Gemini. I'm at
Oh,
the end
because
of
you're
the
at
month.
the cusp or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm like a animorph or something like that.
Animal.
Oh, you can't reap the
Yeah,
benefits
what
of
is a
both.
Gemini?
Two-faced person. Usually
Yeah,
a genius and a crazy person.
Oh, it's a good look.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay,
It all comes into it all comes.
What's
but yeah.
yours?
Mine, I'm a Taurus.
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 I just said it.
The bull.
Yeah.
No, well, you said it wrong.
Taurian. No, that's how they say it. That's how they say it. Oh, yeah, you're a Taurian. Yeah.
And that was like a members only club.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I have a friend, my friend Renee, shout out Renee. He used to say all the time before, he's like, nah, man, it's the Virg watching over me because he's a Virgo. So whenever anything good happened in his life, he's like, yo, that's the Virg. Yo, Virg.
Oh man.
Which you're?
I am
Virgo?
I thought I was Scorpio, but I'm actually Sagittarius. And then I stopped caring.
That's the horseman.
Yeah, right. That's the extent of
That's,
like
the
your
Scorpion
concern.
is the Scorpion. The Sagittarius is the Centaur.
The Centaur, yeah, that's right. Cool.
Yeah.
That one always looked cool to me.
I'm Capricorn. I don't remember what that is, but
You're the Ram.
the Ram, Dickinson.
I meant to be
yeah, right.
playing all along.
What are your Chinese animals? We're all monkeys, right?
I think.
Yeah,
I think I'm a monkey.
monkey.
Yeah.
Same year, right?
Pack of monkeys
are we?
out here.
92?
Oh, it's by
year.
Your
Yeah.
birth. Oh, okay, yeah.
We're all 92, right? Yeah.
Monkey Squad.
All
Hey.
monkey.
Here.
Gang. Oh,
I
yeah.
did see that, and then I realized they're different from horoscopes. And I saw dragons. I was like, damn it,
I wish I was a
not
dragon.
dragon.
Yeah, right. That
Dragon
really
is
is so
kinda dragon,
epic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, I swore that I was a monkey one year, and then I went to a restaurant and they had that I was a rat for 1992.
You a rat?
So then I went like 4
You
years
rat.
thinking I was a Chinese rat, like my year or whatever, and then
It was that one Chinese spot. Just like, nah,
Chinese spot?
We're
Yeah.
different, all right.
with like the Spanish people cooking in the back. You know the one.
Restaurant with plátanos.
You know the one, yeah, with those donuts on the menu.
Yeah, yo.
I
With
love
some
those.
sofrito in there.
I love those spots.
That's Central Ave right there.
Yeah, that's the vibe.
So,
Yeah,
man.
we chilling. Everybody's good.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right, so that's cool.
So what did you have on doc?
So actually, just so
We're-
happens that most of my questions were planned for my guests. So
Dang, all of them.
So we're just
most of them, no.
targeted to them.
You feel
Oh
left out?
no! I was like,
They're more like
but I did have like general questions planned around that. Also,
so
by the
okay.
way, I know that I like low key run this, but y'all are allowed to like have questions too.
Oh, for
to
sure.
like bring over and like discuss.
You said- you said we
Stop
low-key
putting
run
pressure on me.
Real quick, a quick analysis. quick analysis on the episode so far. 14 minutes of it, and it was just like us talking for 13 minutes of it. So I don't think you have to remind us.
Yeah.
I only asked that because I thought like you would have like underlying questions or like just more broad. I didn't know like it was targeted.
Yeah, we're kicking it.
I got some ideas, some stuff that I could ask about though.
Okay.
Just some random intricacies.
All right, so we'll bring that in. So one of the things that I was pondering was, and I was curious to know what your guys' thoughts is on it. Is what do you think of when people say that life used to be easier back then? Just like your general thoughts.
When?
Just,
Are you talking? Wait, are you talking like an old head telling us that, or like someone our age saying it was easier?
What is
that's
the perspective
That's
you
two
heard
different
that?
answers.
Like,
well,
like,
no, I see. Like, obviously, it's easy to take any general hypothetical question and then seek extra stuff so that you can just
Be right.
just as it is, general thoughts.
Things used to be easier.
Yeah.
I feel like Ariel would be good to answer this question for some reason.
Well, wouldn't like it depends like what they're saying.
Don't ask me
though.
a question. Just what do you think about
Straight
that?
up.
Yeah, just stream.
Well,
Just
I
stream
mean,
it.
if it's in relativity to your age,
Yeah, create your hypothetical scenario in which you heard somebody say that.
so if it's like somebody saying, "Oh yeah, life used to be easier when you were a little kid," you know, of course, yeah, you had less.
Yeah, but what's the of
but-
course? All right, so responsibility.
Yeah, you had less responsibility, so you know you could do a few things. But even then, I mean, it depends what kind of
You mean
upbringing
You had a
like-
lot less agency when you're a kid too, so you don't really have a choice but to just do the stuff.
exactly,
So you don't get in trouble.
Yeah,
so
and
you're
you don't have that like emotional and mental capacity to like
Yeah.
think outside. Like,
even
what am I
care.
doing with my life? You know, you're just like you're going to school and you're doing this, you're doing chores and stuff like that. But
Oh, that's interesting.
you know.
Right.
But
so
then
you're taking
there's-
it-
Yeah, so that's what I meant. Like it depends, like how, and if there's people that are like, oh yeah, life was easier back in the 50s, like you know, that also depends.
Yeah,
too,
I
you
think
know.
it's more along the line of
Yeah.
the second one.
I mean, it depends what era, I guess, because
doesn't.
you know the 50s. Well, yeah, I mean, like
I'll let you answer.
if
It's
you're
your
talking about
answer.
if you're talking
No, you're
about
allowed
like
into
time
it.
wise, any time, like oh, the medieval times were easier. No, they weren't. You die of like an
Bro,
infection.
everybody
You
lived
die
to
of like a
23.
cold. Exactly.
I was a king
So-
for 7 years already.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
ready
So
to-
it wasn't easier at all.
Yeah.
And then you know there was that after the war, that baby boomer time. So that was like kind of like the better time for certain people because you know it was leisure.
Yeah.
You know
because there wasn't war.
exactly. But like during that time, if you look at across the continent, like wherever you were, they
word.
weren't good times
Word.
either.
They were
So it's just
recovering.
like- exactly.
For sure.
So like you know, it depends.
Well, if somebody told you that and they were just giving you the context of like, yeah, we're growing up here, we're in Jersey City, you were just asking them for some advice on something. Let's say it was like future life related, like something about your mortgage or life insurance or something. And they told you, you know what, life used to be a lot easier.
Yeah, I feel like whenever I hear that like question, it's coming from like two angles. One from like somebody going through hardship, and then two, it's like the age gap. Because I'm just trying to picture if like someone our age just looks at me like, too late. Someone just looks at me our age and be like, "Hey, life used to be easier." I'm like,
Oh, your age.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
like,
crazy.
That's
like
why I
someone's-
asked, because that's a reality too.
Yeah. That's
Like-
interesting.
Because
I guess-
some of the
Like when
people
they
in
were
our,
like a kid.
well, some of the people that are in our age range, like they don't know really what they're doing right now or what anything means, and they're like, "Yo, shit was
Okay, yeah.
easier when I was just in school."
I could see that.
And my parents were just like telling me to do X, Y, and Z. And my
for
We
Friend-
weren't
friends,
having an existential
I saw all my
crisis, you know?
friends every day. Like,
Yeah.
you know, people, we know some people that went off to college and now they're like still living in college, even though they graduated. You know what I mean? If that makes sense for,
Yeah, college.
they still living that college life.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
bro, relax. Do something else.
yeah. So
So what do you think, Ronald, like in terms of kind of like the example Ariel had, like, would you say the 50s were an easier time? I mean, we didn't live during that time, so it's kind of hard to tell.
It depends. It depends on the. It depends on the people
What it
too.
was like.
give me
I mean, it
26
was still
years of experience.
pretty racist back then too. So
Yes.
it depends on the people. Like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I mean, if we're choosing eras, then like, of course, like there's certain just elements where like you don't realize you take for granted, like just
100%.
just you two of your melanin just walking outside and not being called something like degrading.
Yep.
And then now just being freely to just walk where you want to go.
And like I had discussed with
Except
Jose.
Alabama, but
That was mad sexy too. Instead of saying skin color, you said because of your melanin.
Yeah.
Woo, I'm keeping that. I'm using that. That was hot.
It is
That was
like-
hot.
Yeah.
That was hot.
It's like I've discussed with Jose before. It's like, yo, that shit wasn't that long ago.
That was
it
yesterday.
wasn't.
They call it history, but that was
Yeah.
and that's the thing. It's starting to come back too. Like people are coming
Yeah,
out of the
that's the exciting
woodwork.
part.
It's insane.
like they were waiting.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like they were always in the bushes. Just waiting for
Toms.
the right moment to pounce.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't.
So
For me, I would just say like, because I've seen other people's struggles older than me, I just look at it as like you don't know like what other people went through. So I just look at it like I
That's a good way to put
don't
it.
look at it as if I'm doing something hard because people paved the way for other people.
that's for sure.
So,
We're definitely
I just have that outlook.
standing on the shoulder of giants.
Do you feel that people's lack of experiences hinder them though, or do you feel that they're just going on a different kind of journey when they're experiencing like
little bit of
things a
both.
little later than maybe some of us have?
Well, it depends. Like, because experience is one thing, but wisdom is another. So, like, how you come out of those experiences, like, is completely different than you experiencing them.
Okay.
Because
Like two people going through the same thing could have different outcomes.
Exactly. Like you could have like people who come out of like abusive like families, and they come out and they're just like, yeah, I can't do this. Like,
Yeah, that's
you know,
where
and they
that
seek
plays
therapy
a
and
role.
all that. And then you
Yeah.
have the other people who will like continue the cycle and are abusive to their kids.
Raised by
and-
narcissists and now raising narcissists.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know, experience and wisdom, I feel like, is a different thing. But
So I guess, kind of by extension, do you think right now is technically easier than in the past, or do you think it's just all relative to like how people lived during that
For
time period?
what though? That's where like you
Generally,
Well, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, like if
So-
someone was like get a I don't know.
yeah. So
Get a
if
career.
I'm talking generally, I'd say that because of what we just discussed about the fact that the life that we live now is informed and compounded from everything that happened in the past, we're up to this point because of everything that went on.
Yeah.
Because of that, I think we're in a place where a lot of us are in a better position, kind of like what Ronald just mentioned. Like, you know, I've thought about the question of like, if I could travel to a point in history, like which part would I travel to? And while pondering that, I'm like, well, I'd like to visit a time in history, but not actually be like
like be invisible. Like
I'd want to be
Yeah.
invisible because if I exist as myself, the world has not been kind to people that look like me for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then
And-
you could just watch a movie if that's the case.
Yeah, but movies are just like
Interpretation.
interpretations. Like we don't know what dinosaurs look like. I'd go back. It was much easier in the Triassic period than it was now. Back in my day. No, but
I can say for sure I will never meet that person. Back in the Triassic period.
but you're entirely right. Like time traveling, if you did go to an era, you would have to be like there just as an observer, because you know
Yeah, to be an actual citizen of
we,
it. And I
we
mean,
ain't white.
there's a whole other thing of like, shit, it was like we talked about, not everything was like great back then. And like life expectancy wasn't that great. Just the diseases that we can cure now that
Yeah.
Polio.
Yeah.
that
Used
was
to
in the
be
50s,
life
so-
changing.
So-
Now it's like
yo.
nothing.
Although that's coming back because
Yeah.
you know anti-vaxxers or whatever. But
yeah.
Yeah, we don't talk
So-
politics.
I'll play devil
it
It's
advocate.
a bit of a shout out.
Is it politics?
Shout out
Shout
vaxxers.
So if I guess one devil's advocate question I was wondering about, would you be, in terms of just like living in another generation, do you think it's easier just thinking about like how they lived rather than how we live, in terms of like just being kind of like one track minded, or maybe 3 track minded, whereas now we're all over the place mentally?
I It's hard to tell because like even if you were to take someone from back then and expose them to now, like there's just overexposure by default. Yes. But if you go back, then you could turn some of those things off. Yeah, you know, well, you don't really have a choice.
Aided by technology, we just have so much information, like an overwhelming amount, and I don't know how prepared someone of the past would be to like do anything with that information.
Let's talk to our parents. It's like send a text message.
Well, my mom. Well, if you take my mom's example, like she sends me stuff that she Googles now.
Oh yeah,
like she's ascended. Cool. Like she's evolving. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like she'll be like, "Oh look, check out." Yeah, she'll be like, "Check out this drink you can make, and like it'll be good for you in the mornings." And stuff. I'm like, "How'd you find this?" Like I googled it. I'm like, what? Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Like you have your own agency in this new digital age. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. There is a lot of amazing things. Do you think just generally technology has been good for us?
Yeah, because science has given us life expectancy increases, quality of life improvements. There's more peace. Like you remember, did you guys see like all the posts that Bill Gates was making a couple months back?
Oh, about everything being down in terms of like starvation.
Like starvation's down, food issues are down, water issues are down as a whole in the world. Like we're in a pretty good spot. But then like I don't know if he's just propaganda. It's like I don't know if he has his own agenda, but like you know, like it seems like things are getting better as a whole, but there's still a lot of pockets that still suck. Yeah, but even those pockets that still suck, I'm sure they're probably doing better than they were 100 years ago.
Definitely.
Because of technology.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's big because we always try to improve now and everybody's like so obsessed about like being efficient.
Yeah.
We're always comparing like the gaps of like decades rather than just like when it came to the internet, like we clearly made a jump like hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
And that's our lifetime.
Exponential growth. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the amazing part too.
Yeah, just imagine like what kind of technology we're gonna like have in like 20 years when we're old geezers and we're asking our kids for like help.
Like in 20 years.
Well, like
dead ass. I just got here.
Just like almost 50, right?
Yeah. So like we're almost 50.
It's not old.
Well, we're like 47, but like you look at some of our parents, they're like 47 and they're like, yo, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And we're just
because they didn't grow up in the age where you had to learn.
That's a difference.
Like we had to we learned how to learn.
Let's keep it above.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You don't know like what we're going to have to learn. Like you don't know if you have the mental capacity to learn that.
That's true because kids are crazy now with all the amount of information they could digest from their phones.
Yeah,
like they could like infinite scroll 100 times and be like, yeah, I liked every single one of those pictures. Yeah, and I commented and I know exactly what happened. And it's like, it's a lot of time.
Like neural link.
Yeah, really.
Basically,
it's interesting that you said that because I remember a couple of days ago we had a conversation regarding when is the right time to kind of like expose yourself to information.
Yeah.
You could exist in a time where like you get information from anywhere, but you're just not at that stage of your life to actually like understand it or process it. So it means like nothing to you.
Right.
So do you think in terms of technology, and I would say maybe specifically smartphones, like since you mentioned that thing about how crazy like how proficient kids are with that, like do you think there should be like a limit on when they could have that? Like when it's too early for them to be having something like that?
Well, they technically have some limits now with the upgrades on smartphones, like limiting on
screen timer.
Yeah. And now the digital well-being stuff.
I'm saying just generally like.
Oh yeah, I do.
Knowing what you guys know now at your age about the internet and everything that's out there,
and how and knowing how it exists now, when would you expose your kid to the internet?
Yeah,
I do have that question in my head sometimes.
You know, real quick, going back to what Ronald said though, like I never thought that family controls on TVs and devices would be a thing to use. Yeah, everybody would be like, "Oh, I hate these menus. Why do they? I don't care about the TV rating. Just whatever. I'll tell my kid what to watch." Yeah, and now everyone's like, "No, Tommy." Yeah, 30 minutes playing Food Friends on your phone.
Yeah, they're like, can you add another 30 minutes? No,
Mom, do my chores.
Yeah,
increase my time. I don't know. It's hard to decide because like kids, because of the internet and how they affect the kids, they're growing up faster and maturing faster too.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
So it's hard to say. Crazy. Like 16 now is like what 18 used to be.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, like, yeah, we can have all the information, but like how we use that information is entirely different.
Yes.
And if you're even in the right mindset, like maturity wise or whatever, just experience wise, to even do something with that. Because it's one thing to just rattle off some quote that you read from some guy, but like, are you actually applying it to your life?
Like, yeah, because at that age, you're so young that you're absorbing everything. You don't know whether or not to decide if you agree with something or not. You're just taking everything as gospel. 100%. Especially when you're young, like you're
so impressionable.
Yeah, movies, TV, and comedy, like that makes up your opinions on shit because they're giving you opinions. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, learning all that stuff without any context of how it fits into your life, other people's life, and just in general, that's a tough decision. Because imagine like you do the whole you show your kid a R-rated film, and then you don't know it, and then it sits later.
What, you didn't know it was R-rated?
No, you just didn't know your kid watched the R-rated film, and then later out of nowhere you just see like your kid smacking somebody, and like you didn't teach them that, and it's like, where'd you get that from? I didn't teach you that.
That's interesting that you said that. This reminds me of like the study that they made. Kids that don't even know like about like weapons and stuff, they still play with toys that look like weapons, and they kind of use it like, oh, like, you know, this is
context clues.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Like I think this study was done back in like the 60s or the 50s.
Yeah.
And like they were like playing like kind of like, you know, cowboys and Indians and all that. You
that's
know?
just like remember when they locked the kids in a room and they were like, hey, you guys, these guys are the slaves and these are the regular ones. You guys just play together. And then like they came back and all the slave kids were like in the corner, like tied up and shit.
Wow.
They didn't even tell them anything.
Shit.
Yeah.
Who gave them rope?
It's weird. It's a weird thing. It's survival mechanism. I don't know.
Because you don't give the kid context of what is a rope, what is a slave. They are just looking like, oh, you look like me. You're small, same age. We're doing this. Let's see where our minds take us. And then you don't have someone older saying, hey, that's that. This is that.
Yeah.
Don't do this. Don't do that. It's not that like you should be authoritative in terms of like saying you can't do that. Yeah. It's just a matter of like putting in context. Did I upset you?
No, you just reminded me of something I saw in the news like yesterday, the day before, but I don't want to talk about politics. It's just crazy. Like why? But I guess it's more of a technology thing. They did the whole deep fake thing with
that's scary.
Pelosi, that lady.
Oh yeah.
And they made like she was saying something that never even happened, and then they were like posting shit, like official channels were posting it online like it was real.
Yeah.
It's like
I think
now what do you trust?
Posting that shit.
Yeah, like even Trump posted it on Twitter. It's like, well, what do you trust? Like even if it's fake, even if they knew it was fake and they did it, they knew that it would catch some people off guard.
Yeah, of
and
course.
now they have it in their head. Even if it's like, oh no,
it's kind of like when you do an allegation, like
remember
even
when,
if it's false, like that stigma is already still lingering.
Yeah, like remember when Nelly, they were like, oh, he had a rape allegation against some girl, and they found out she was just being a jerk.
Yeah.
But like now he sits with that.
Yeah,
Like that's like part of his story now.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like mess with social media a lot, because of like I see the rise of like technology and those filters and all that stuff, and how people just treat it. Even like your own habits, like just looking at like a square, just objectively, you're looking at a square that gives you infinite amount of information, and you're just staying on that square, and you're just going this and this.
Yeah, it's like
how much can you retain?
It's like propaganda. Like you don't even notice it, and that's the thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially when you realize that these huge companies, like that is their motive, right? Like they're capturing your attention just to sell it.
Yeah, and that's why they have all these algorithms and cookies and all that, just so they can like, hey, like I was looking to maybe like sell my piano. And I went on Yamaha. I went on Yamaha once, and then after that, I was like seeing ads on Instagram for Yamaha, and I'm just like,
same thing.
Jesus, like this just once.
We've already mentioned not even looking shit up and just talking about it, and then it showing up in your like ads, like
because like Google picks up on the voice thing, and like to take that feature off, you have to go through like so many menus. It's crazy.
A lot.
You gotta sign contracts.
Yeah.
Like that the whole new craze of what the Snapchat filter, the baby face.
Oh, the one that makes you look like guys look like girls and girls look like guys.
Yeah, that like I won't be
there's a baby
surprised.
one?
There's a baby one. There's a guy and a girl. But like, I'm not surprised if the people who originally started like the deepfake stuff,
Yeah.
like they just have friends and like they commingle, they share like algorithm, whatever, and then now it spreads and it's in the corporate's hands. Like I'm not surprised.
Well, that's what it was. It was like an open source project or something, I believe.
That's
And-
just the nature of it. Like, don't catch me on no filters because
yeah, man.
Yeah, so actually, kind of related to that question or adjacent to it is, it'd be kind of interesting to hear from you guys. When were you guys first exposed to the internet, or do you have an early memory of when you opened your first webpage?
I know when I was exposed to it. It was
Or if you can think like roughly an age.
it was like 6th grade, so whatever
Yeah,
age
whatever
we were in
age that
6th
is, yeah.
grade, because my mom's ex-boyfriend had picked up a computer and then we set up internet in the house. And he was showing me how to do stuff on it, and I was like, oh shit, computer, wow, this is awesome. I've never been connected to the internet before, only at school. So it was like then that like I signed into AOL and I was like, what, I could like get updates on here, there's news on here, what? Oh, let me go to the chat, oh, there's people here. Oh, what, radio, I can listen to music on my computer, this is cool.
What was your screen name?
oh boy,
Prince Big Boy.
Prince Big Boy.
Prince Big Boy. I remember that. Yeah. The Yahoo chat rooms and
man.
stuff. That was me back in the day.
I had a few. I forgot what my first one was. But I had like a Japanese one, and then I had like
Koi Osu.
Yeah,
I remember
Koi
some.
Osuru, yeah.
I remember some. when was that? When did you get introduced to the internet?
I actually don't remember at all. Like I just don't remember when I like actually picked it up.
Was it like during that chat room era? That 6th grade, 7th
I think it
grade
was a
chat
little
room
bit
era?
before that. Like just exposed to computers, it was a little bit before that.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Because we had to take
actually,
typing
like-
classes and stuff in
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
Oh my god.
So like Math Blaster, and
Mavis
all that.
Beacon.
Yo, Math Blaster was like my
Yo.
favorite game.
It's still hard.
Loved it.
Do you remember, Ronald? Or
I
like what
don't
was your
remember the
earliest internet
age.
memory?
I don't
And
remember
what was
the
your screen
age.
name?
I don't remember the screen name, but I do remember the browser Juno.
Wow, you use a Juno browser? That's hardcore.
Lame.
It's not my fault because I
That's
remember
hardcore.
I
it
use
was like
Linux.
I don't do any of that stuff now. But I remember, like, yeah, I think an uncle set it up because he was in that background of like computers and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, the next thing I know, I'm playing with a ball, and the next day it's like, oh, here's a computer because we want to like install a computer in our house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what this big ass block? And then you click on it, and then it's like,
It does
oh,
the
snap.
Crazy. It's crazy that you say it because I'm looking at your laptop right now and it's
Oh,
like
it's thin. Yeah.
it's like oh my god.
It's a
Yeah.
weird reality.
And that's not
Right?
even this year where it's like
Yeah.
my hands, literally. But
Yeah.
that's probably my earliest memory.
Yeah, I think my first exposure, I feel like it must have been at school. You know, computer labs were becoming a thing, and they would take the class down there, and that was when the Internet Explorer was like a shuttle.
Yeah.
And like you click on that
no
icon
certs.
and be like, "Oh, this is Internet Explorer," and
And now I'm kind of thankful that we had those because not everybody
Well, yeah,
had like
it's- it set up the foundation.
like a class for computers.
yeah.
That's dope.
Even though now that I think about it, I don't know what the full extent of that class even was. Like,
Just to get us familiar. It was
Yeah.
like
I think it was just like from what I remember was typing, and I'm like, why? Like,
because
I-
typing used
like,
to be a
this is-
profession.
Yes.
So it was just that, except
Yeah.
on computers now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like natural. I'm like, why do I have to like look at this chart? Like, it's just, they would break it in parts and all that. And
Yeah,
I'm just like, I
segment
don't
the
like
keyboard.
stop. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry, we're not smart enough for you.
yeah, I think I might have had my first ever computer around 5th grade, and I didn't get much use out of it because it was like
Not
you talk
connected
to
to
your friends and be
anything.
like, "What do you even do on the internet?" And it's like, "Oh, yo, you could go to this website and play games and shit." And I'm like, "I bet."
yo, you guys remember like funnyvideos.com? Do you
Dude,
ever-
E-Bombs World.
Yo.
Oh, the armpits of the
My
internet
show,
back in
my
the
show
day.
was Newgrounds.
Newgrounds
yeah.
was good too. Yeah,
Yeah.
The tank one on
Yeah, they
Newgrounds.
got, like,
Oh, that was like
just Pico Pico.
revolutionary.
But that's the thing. Like, I didn't get much like in terms of like the use that I got. I kind of saw it as like a gaming thing, even though
Yeah,
I told my parents I wanted to get it because I needed it for school.
You told them?
Yeah, I never told. I'm like, yo, this is like a necessary thing. Like, the world
You
is
hustled
changing.
for
right?
your computer. That's crazy.
The world is changing. I need a computer. Like, you don't want me to fail, right?
Tú no entiendes.
Yeah, right.
Like, we need a computer for this one class.
But it's like,
You're just playing mini golf.
what are you studying? Like,
Billiards.
the aerodynamics of a golf ball
Physics,
as it's
man,
affected by the
physics.
wind.
They just look at you like, what you doing? You ever press like start and then go to games and then pinball?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
She looks at you like, I just bought this for him.
You
What am I
better
doing?
lose hours.
I spent a lot of time playing pinball. I was never a solitaire guy, but pinball was my shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'd click on.
Mahjong. I don't never understood that game. So,
That would probably be the definition of you have an old soul if you play
That's a match.
Mahjong.
but it's like
Mahjong is just,
super
Mahjong
hard.
is just
isn't it?
matching, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, but it has to deal with strategy too.
Yeah?
And like, yeah.
I like the music that played in one of the apps that my aunt had. Whenever she would turn it on, it would always put the same classical piece. I don't even remember what it's called, but
Oh yeah, like
like a
pre-installed
weird
on all the Windows machine.
ragtime style song.
Yeah.
So I had
Do
that
you
shit stuck
remember
in my head.
that old like Windows visualization thing? Like that, yeah, like if you play
Oh,
something in Windows
yeah.
Media Player, you get like this like
All the
kaleidoscope
different
fucking
visualizers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You remember the skins that you could change?
Yeah. Oh, but
We were so
Yo.
enthusiastic about the little minor
it's
things.
so like
Yeah, now
low
it's like-
fidelity, man. Like, damn, like
Wait, what was your screen name?
my screen name.
El Pollo Loco.
No. So yeah, I was getting to that. Like,
Loco.
it was one. My internet connection was so damn slow. I had DSL,
Whose was
but then the other thing, it was like
I had like landline. It wasn't even like DSL. What was the one before DSL?
dial-up.
Dial-up.
Yeah, that's what I had.
I had dial-up for the
sounds-
longest.
Oh yeah,
my
we get a phone call. That's it. Your
And like-
internet drops.
And like a stack of like 20 AOL CDs, like for
Every
fucking
day.
free trials for.
Me and my cousins used to play catch with them. We used to play frisbee,
yeah, like,
but like with
there was
with the full envelope and everything.
there was so many of those.
Catch this square ass rectangle.
But yeah, like you can go on the
Shurikens
website.
now.
Oh, it broke. There's a CD inside of it. Now let's throw that.
Yeah,
Armor.
yeah. I think when I first had a computer, no one ever talked about virus protection. So, so it was a wrap for me pretty early on. Like, I click on the ad and it's like, thank you for playing. I'm going to shut down now and restart like 20 times. I'm like, what's going on?
Was that shortly after you discovered like LimeWire and shit, or whatever?
I think so, yeah.
I used to use Kazaa
Yo.
too.
That's when my meteoric trajectory.
It was like, I was all downhill from there.
That's how you learn the hard way.
What are statute of limitations again? How many years?
7.
I didn't do shit.
No, I'm talking about me.
I don't remember anything. No, you don't remember anything either.
Some people used to make money off of it. I don't know.
Every time we mention it, you just like bleep it.
Yeah.
LimeWire,
You guys
Kazaa.
remember when you could download stuff off of the internet? Yeah, the internet was amazing.
Fucking. I just have memories of like downloading like the Busta Rhymes like Touch It remix and shit
Yo,
like
100
onto
times.
my PSP
In
like
6 different versions because you needed every version.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like yo, this one got Remy Ma in there. Like let me
The North version, the South version,
Word.
the West Coast version. You need all the versions.
Yo, I had like all the Lil Bow Wow albums. I don't know why. I had all of his albums.
I guess
They were hard.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I'm like, let me get the songs from that. Now that's what I call music. Volume 19. Like,
Yo, you know what I just
like,
realized?
what?
That whole era kind of shaped like the way that I listen to music. Because like I
did it?
discovered a lot of the music that I know just because of like
How
the
did-
shitty filters, you know? Like I'll look up like 50 Cent and then I'll get Wu-Tang Clan and like DMX on the
Oh,
side.
that's
So,
a
like,
good
you're
point.
like, oh.
Yeah. Shout out to like terrible search results.
Sometimes no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, Ronald.
I was like, no, this is where things get really weird, I feel.
That's when I got my third virus.
And a notice from the FBI in the mail because some kind of weird video that showed up.
I did get a notice actually.
Yeah, I knew some people who did.
What? I never got a notice.
I never did either.
What I-
Maybe because
what
my
I
internet was
found-
so bad it didn't even matter. It
Well,
was
what I
like,
found is you have to not share it. So like you download it and then
I don't even know that
become like
concept.
a
Oh, you
seed or a
remove
leech or
yourself.
anything like that.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that until like torrents now.
Yeah, like I just kept downloading and downloading. Like I kept downloading movies that I like wanted to see, and then it was one of them where basically it's peer to peer, so someone's sharing it, so we're all sharing the legal stuff. So I was like,
It's
in my
sharing,
head, I'm
it's
like,
not illegal.
yeah, in my head, I'm like,
Sharing is caring.
how you gonna catch me if I caught it from the guy who had it originally and he didn't even get caught?
Bro, like,
Yeah, just like
that's
STDs,
the way to
right?
catch the other 42 nodes on this mesh.
Just like STDs, right?
If they didn't get that, I'm going in.
That's basically, he was like, you heard that? Well, I'm gonna make it clear.
Does you say a good joke? And you just got to reiterate.
You got a notice from the FBI. I got a notice from my doctor.
That's right.
But yeah, that I got caught one time, and that's where I was like, yeah, the trajectory was like, let's stop doing this.
Yeah. Sharing it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't share it.
It was weird when I did get my first computer.
Yeah.
Because it was such a new toy. I wanted to figure it out, everything inside and out. So I was the kid who sat there at the start desktop and pressed start, and then went all programs, and then went accessories and clicked every single
did.
program.
Oh,
Yes.
So I'm like, I want to know what every single thing does. And I went through the entire list of shit.
Remote connection. What is this?
Yeah, I was like,
I
what's
never
the
figured it out.
It's a command prompt. This is a black notepad.
Untitled notepad.
We got equal opportunity here. Like,
Oh man.
It was like disk cleanup. What? Oh, cool. Now I know how to make
let me
everybody's computer
defrag
faster.
my hard drive for like the 10th time so it could be faster.
Yeah, so
Today.
This hour.
So my first computer, it actually wasn't like a
you remember
brand
the
name
model?
computer. No, it wasn't a brand name computer. So it was just like the chassis, and it was all like
It was called computer.
I think it was like one of my mom's friend. Yeah, it was just like he was setting it up. So like. I saw
That's
all the
awesome.
drivers get installed, like the BIOS, and then so it
That's
was like
badass.
Oh, you stayed for
early
that?
on. Yeah, I was just like, I don't know what this is, and I was just like,
Yeah,
what
it's
are you
like
doing
so
now?
foreign
Like,
at that point, right? Because
yeah.
we've never been exposed to something like that.
Yeah, so
before.
like I never retained that information, but but it was still
Like,
like
I know how to install
I think-
Windows.
yeah, I think it kind of helped. Yeah, because like every time we would get a virus, we were like, all right, well let's just reinstall the Windows, and
Yeah.
so
I'm
that's
kind of tight. That's like really the only solution is just like, all right, we're not gonna deal with this problem. We're just gonna
just put the CDs
Don't
in.
remove
Yeah,
everything.
exactly.
Yeah, nuke it.
Yeah, and back then you didn't really have like important files, like we weren't.
Yeah, we weren't
You guys-
docu-signing anything.
You guys remember assignments?
Very
how
so.
ridiculous we would put like fonts. Like you would put
You
like
remember the 3D
font.
The
Yeah,
3D
exactly.
rainbow font?
Oh
The 3D
my
rainbow
God.
gradient?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and that was like a thing.
How
like,
cringy.
Fucking,
Exactly.
the clip art and shit, like it's like all like
Do you guys know?
dried and desaturated. Is
Do you
like,
guys know if they still do that, like in classes, like, or is it more professional?
What do you mean?
No,
It's
it's
like-
more perfect. No one's
Yeah.
putting like.
I honestly don't know.
I used to put that in my
Christy-
papers
Christy
in like
was still
fourth,
doing it when
fifth
she
grade
was in
and sixth
school.
grade.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but like
She's
no
like
one's
8
putting.
years younger than we are.
Yeah, I think probably there's like a small adjustment.
Yeah.
Especially now that,
Because it's not new anymore.
and some people don't
It's
even.
everything's in APA format or whatever. It's just like for little kids.
And I mean, there's so much competition,
APC
at least from
format.
like Google, that you don't even feel the need to get Microsoft Word. Like before, there was like, yo,
Yeah.
you need Microsoft Word in any possible way because you're
Yeah.
not writing any papers otherwise. Now you could just open up an
Yo.
internet browser and type in there.
How about
and
that?
have it save automatically.
Did any of you ever have that first realization that you were like, all right, I'm working on this at school. I'm going to save it and I'm going to put it on this floppy disk because we had floppy disks. And then I'm going to go home and I'm going to open it just to get home and realize you don't have Microsoft Word installed.
Yes. And then try to open it up in Notepad.
You're like, wait,
And
what do
it's
you
like,
mean?
this is like garbage.
Like, what do you mean I don't have this program? Like,
Yeah.
is it?
What do you? Where do I go?
Where do I find it?
What do you mean open file as? Like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh,
It's
man.
like-
And being introduced
oh,
to
you
all
have
of
to
that new terminology.
You have to
and-
pay for it, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
nope,
Yeah, the paywall started.
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's very true.
Or just carrying a floppy drive in like a pocket with like mad magnets and shit. Because that's the thing everybody does. And then you put it and it's all corrupted.
yeah,
Oh yeah, I do remember. Yeah, like if you mess with magnets, it does corrupt it.
It's a wrap.
Me and my dumbass just, you know how like it slides at the top? I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah, I used to.
like-
Yes,
Like,
I used
the
to.
magnet's attracted to that. That's so cool. Let me go do my paper. Nah.
and they're like, oh, I can make this longer. And then you ruin it. You're like,
You ever done that with a TV?
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah.
With the two
Well, like the
You used to fix like old TVs, like when you would see that pop up, you would take the magnet and
really?
you would like move
Yeah.
move it out of the way. Yeah,
Dang, y'all
that's why
advanced.
it's
Yeah, it like
that's
attracts.
lit.
hashtag port. You're like you
Hey,
can't,
you
you
can't
can't
do
put
that
it on
smart.
the TV.
I was not doing that with my
Yeah.
TV.
When I took a refrigerator magnet from the kitchen and I brought it over and I tried to put it on the side of the TV to see if it would stick.
Yo, that's
And then it
wild.
just warped. It just went like there's like a bubble now with like
that's
rainbows. I'm like,
You're like,
what? Yo, anybody got a magnet? Like, let's try it.
Yo, how do
And you're like messing up your TV.
I was like, yo, my cousin, yo, how do I come check this out? And we were just putting all the magnets on the TV, and then it just looks like a tie-dye shirt.
Yo, we got this magnet. You want to just put this on the hard drive?
Just for Haas.
You want to just see what happens?
I'm just picturing now your parents like go watch the news or their favorite program. They see they're like, yeah, mad tie on
Your
screen.
face is like
It's like
a deep
had
worm.
I didn't do anything. I just came, yo.
Yo,
And then
that's
they
so
go. That was the
weird.
funny part. They did. I don't know if they knew if like you were doing it. They probably just like,
But they
like
called you first.
oh, they did. No, I
Yeah.
was gonna be like, yo,
Well-
the TV's messed up. We gotta get a new one.
We were so scared. We were just like all the way in the back, just
Everybody
like
was scared.
turn it on. It looks funny, dude. It looks funny, and it's like a fucking hole in the wall.
It's like we gotta get two new ones now. One that's broke.
That's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, so to kind of wrap up what we had been talking about, I think what you had suggested, or one of the things that you had opened up with regarding like children and technology, I think that's totally like, you know, having parental controls on there, that's probably the best compromise because,
Yeah, definitely.
you know, early on they're at a stage where like they can absorb so much information, but I guess only you as a parent can put the limit on how much they get or for how long they're exposed to that device.
Right.
Because you don't want them to like, let's say you decide, because like personally, I'm curious about you guys, but I didn't get my very first like phone just in general until like I had a job. Because like
okay.
my parents were like,
damn.
why am I gonna buy you a phone so you could talk shit with your friends? Nah, you could like use the house phone or don't use anything.
Word. Well,
So-
on that front, I got my cell phone early on because I needed a way for my mom to contact me when she was at work because she worked nights.
Do you remember what it was?
It was
Like a Razor or something?
No, it was a Nokia phone. It was before flip phones were even like a thing. It was like 5th grade. I got it. I had a phone
Is it
before I
that
got a computer.
indestructible one, like the
Yeah,
3000?
no, it wasn't that one. It was one of the newer ones that had not a green background but an orange background, like black text on orange.
yeah.
Yeah, and it had all the
It's like
cool-
house phone now.
basically, yeah,
Yeah.
all the cool games on it, like Snake and
Oh, Snake was the best.
and Snake, but it had cool ringtones.
Do you remember your first cell phone?
It was a flip phone, and I more along the lines of what he was talking about. Like I got one because my parents like work different shifts. And, like I'd be at my at the house either my sister or a babysitter, whatever.
Yeah,
or
word.
the babysitter's house. So it's like they got to keep in contact, and it was probably when I was there, like almost before high school.
Okay.
Did you realize that you had a babysitter when you had a babysitter, or was it after that you realized
thought-
like
thought
they
it
were
was
your
like just
babysitter?
some person that comes.
Who
Like
is this?
almost like a
it's
family member or something.
yeah.
Yeah, at first it was like, oh, you know my mom or you know my dad. It's like, all right, I guess I could trust you. I got no choice.
Word, that was-
and
yeah,
then
same.
and then they feed you and they're like, all right, you got the hookup.
That must be pretty cool.
I accept.
Oh, you got TV too? It's not messed up. Cool.
This is the big homie. We out here. I can do my homework and I could do whatever I want. Cool.
And then you
remember
have to
your
do your
first cell
homework and
phone?
you got beat.
My first cell phone, I think, was like sophomore year, so I was pretty late, and I only got it because like my oldest brother got one, so I kind of like by default,
by default,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like it was, I think it was like a red flip phone.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and talk to the ladies. But yeah, I used to like put it. I love my flip phone
Was
because
it?
I would
Wait,
put it
was
like
it the
on
one?
the seam.
Was it the Sanyo? Was
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
That used to be the G. That was like the
yeah,
Samsung of back in the day.
Yeah, I freaking love that phone.
sorry.
And I
Love
would
their
like
phones.
to get ringtones, like not to
Yo.
pay for them, like
Record.
Yeah, no,
LimeWire,
you
here we
couldn't
go.
record at that time. So what I would do is I would take like a piece of a song, cut it up on Nero, and then
Wow.
change it. Get like a different program that would change it into like this
The
other
full
format,
file
the right
format?
format. Yeah,
Oh
I think it
my
was
God.
like 3GP or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yo.
And then I would put like install it on my
Yo,
phone,
you know
and I
what's
was
crazy?
like, a hack.
Yo, terrible technology made us mad resourceful. Like
Yeah.
that's fucking crazy. Like we really had to figure shit
Well,
out. Like if we really
engineering,
wanted that
being-
ringtone, we was getting it.
engineering,
somewhere.
Yeah, being poor was a
Yo,
huge
facts,
thing.
yeah, 'cause, like-
I don't have $1 to pay for this.
Yeah, so you
this
start rubbing
ringtone.
sticks together, you know?
Yeah.
Make something work.
Like I had access to like Sony Vegas through like YouTube tutorials of like unlocking
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah.
I'm like,
Walkthroughs.
that was my introduction to video editing. Like it's crazy because like I was always like I'd watch YouTube videos. I mean, think about it. YouTube was like 2006, so like for me it was like right at the end of 8th grade,
Something like that,
like
yeah.
graduating. And so I'd watch YouTube videos. And I'm like, oh, how do people even make this stuff? Or like,
You were,
I don't know if you guys have ever had
you
the
were up
thought
on
of
that
like,
early. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy because like
That's super
I wasn't
early.
introduced into YouTube until like I don't know the end of high school, and even then, like I wouldn't even like go on it.
It was just like other people in the classroom putting shit on, right?
Yeah, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, YouTube." And I'm like, "Whatever that is."
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
But like,
all
I
over E-Bombs world.
yeah,
Another Newgrounds.
I started actually watching YouTube like in college. Like that's when I actually started like
okay.
actively like seeing stuff, and I'm just like
And following
oh,
things,
this
right?
is- yeah, it's like oh, there's people out here. This is pretty cool.
this whole community of like amateur creators just
Yeah.
Yeah.
putting their stuff up there. But yeah, like that was my introduction to it. And when I think about the question I had presented about like was the right age, like you want them to at least be proficient with the things, because I think in the position that we're at now, we realize how powerful that is of a tool for like creation, and like how many people have been able to start businesses, whether it's like
Right.
online or whatever, and
Or even just like sharing a message that may be important.
and just how much just generally it's lowered the barrier of entry for so many things that used to be like walled gardens, and only if you
Yeah.
had like mad money. And even when I was little, like yeah, like the Sony Vegas program was like $600. When would I ever gonna convince my parents to get me that because I'm interested in video editing?
Yeah.
Like you know that was never happening. So it's like what you had described about getting that ringtone on your phone and having to be resourceful. I was like, video editing looks kind of cool, so I'm gonna try to figure out like how I can get that. And again, that's how I run into all the viruses, because that's how I play myself.
Antagonists, X, Y, and Z.
Because it's like download this from this trusted source.
Open this file, read the
And then there's,
instructions,
like-
go to another link.
Yeah, and then you go to the webpage and there's like 30 download buttons, and you're like, click all of them. Which one of these is the real one? Like,
Time to guess and check.
yeah, like
It's a wrap after
let
the
me
first one.
download all this adware. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we're gonna wrap it up there. So I thank you guys for joining me on episode 25 of the Working Podcast.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then just use one of those. Just use one. Just like use one.
Yeah, so shout out
Roll
to
the
you
tape,
guys
James.
one time. We'll see you guys in the next one. And
This is fun. Thanks, goals.
I don't care. I'm going to make this a thing. I still have to remember the fucking line, but yes,
I'm gonna make it a
Ronald.
thing, but-
yeah, I am making it a thing. Divided, we're awesome.
dick riding.
United, we're more awesome. Lincoln Build is the motto. We'll see you guys in the next one.
All right. Peace.
Who says that?